Welcome to today's story, a tale of ambition, sacrifice, and the pursuit of freedom. Meet Max, a determined individual born into the lower society of the high-rise world, where poverty and struggle are everyday companions. Join him on his journey skywards. Will he reach for the stars or hit the moon trying? The tower's descent. It was a glorious, hot, sunny summer's day, yet despite the brilliance of the sun, Max found himself standing in the shadow of the towering structure. Even on the hottest day of the year so far, a shiver ran down his spine as his gaze fixated on the daunting heights above. The block of luxury apartments loomed over him like a monolith, casting a dark silhouette against the blue sky. Each floor seemed to embody a distinct level of societal stratification, visible even from the ground. At the bottom, the lower floors, the scruffy, struggling working-class residents hung their washing out on the balconies, their clothes fluttering in the intense summer heat like tattered flags of resilience. As Max's eyes travelled upward, he witnessed a striking contrast unfold before him. The middle floors boasted a semblance of comfort compared to the floors below, with neatly arranged balconies and windows adorned with potted plants, a modest attempt to add a touch of greenery to their urban existence. Yet it was the penthouses that captured his imagination the most, their grandeur reaching skyward with balconies lush with flora, almost resembling miniature gardens suspended in mid-air. From bottom to top, the tower told a story. A tale of rags to riches writ large against the backdrop of the city skyline. But for Max, it was more than just a narrative. It was a daunting challenge, a climb he was determined to undertake at any cost. Born into poverty 24 years ago in 2030, amidst the nascent years of the 15-Minute Cities initiative, Max witnessed the dawn of what seemed like a utopian vision, a progressive leap forward in urban living. In those early days, the concept of compact, self-sustaining communities promised a new era of connectivity and convenience. But as time wore on, the promise gave way to a harsh reality. The streets, once bustling with the harmonious rhythm of communal living, soon became fractured, divided between the haves and the have-nots. The affluent few ascended skywards, seeking refuge in the gleaming luxury tower blocks that pierced the heavens like modern-day monoliths. Meanwhile, those left behind found themselves relegated to the shadows of the city, trapped in the suffocating embrace of poverty. For Max, the dream of escaping his humble beginnings and ascending to the prestigious penthouse level burned like a beacon in the darkness of his existence. With a heart ablaze with determination, he embarked on a relentless journey, driven by an insatiable hunger for a better life. Fueled by ambition and intoxicated by the tantalizing promise of upward mobility, Max navigated the labyrinthine streets of the city with single-minded focus. Each step he took was a testament to his unwavering resolve, a declaration of defiance against the oppressive forces that sought to keep him tethered to his lowly station. With every passing day, the allure of the penthouse level beckoned to him like a siren song, promising untold riches and boundless opportunities. And though the path ahead was fraught with peril and uncertainty, Max pressed on, fueled by the fervent belief that his destiny lay beyond the confines of his impoverished upbringing. Max had toiled tirelessly through his formative years within the confines of an education system teetering on the brink of transformation. In a world where knowledge was still a beacon of hope, education remained a sanctuary accessible to all until the threshold of one's 16th year, beyond which lay the precipice of exorbitant costs that spiraled beyond the reach of many. Yet amidst the looming spectre of financial barriers, Max, a luminary amongst his peers, navigated the labyrinth of academia with unparalleled grace. His intellect, a beacon of promise in the dimly lit corridors of his 15-minute slum, earned him a scholarship to the only university within his grasp, a humble institution far removed from the hallowed halls of prestige, yet a lifeline dangling precariously above the abyss of destitution. Having borne witness to the gradual descent of his family into the murky depths of the streets, Max understood the dire consequences of surrendering to the siren's call of desperation. Petty crimes, once innocuous flirtations with danger, morphed into harrowing tales of illicit trade and vice, as the allure of forbidden fruits beckoned to those ensnared within the jaws of poverty. Even with the lifeline of his scholarship, Max found himself ensnared in the tangled web of criminality, his hands stained with the residue of desperation and necessity. But through gritted teeth and clenched fists, he clawed his way to the summit of academia, emerging triumphant as a beacon of hope amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf him. As a newly anointed physician from the hallowed halls of the Royal Medical School, Max stood poised on the precipice of a new chapter in his journey. Despite the tides of change that had swept across the nation in the wake of the monarchy's abdication and the dawn of the Republic, Max saw his newfound position as a physician to the first 20 floors of residence as a stepping stone towards his ultimate ascension. But as he embarked on his rounds, Max soon found himself confronted by the stark realities that lurked within the towering edifice of societal hierarchy. On the lower levels, he bore witness to the gnawing spectre of poverty and despair, where the sick languished amidst the crumbling remnants of broken dreams. Meanwhile, on the middle floors, the air crackled with the palpable tension of competition and greed as the denizens of the tower clawed and scraped their way towards the elusive promise of wealth and status. Yet amidst the chaos and despair that permeated each floor, Max remained resolute in his pursuit of a better life. Forged in the crucible of adversity, his resolve burned bright amidst the encroaching shadows, a beacon of hope amidst the darkness that threatened to engulf him. The climb was not just arduous, it felt almost insurmountable, each floor presenting its own labyrinth of challenges that threatened to derail Max's ascent. On the lower levels, where dilapidated apartments stood as monuments to despair and struggling families bore the weight of endless toil, Max found himself engulfed in a sea of hardship. Yet amidst the pervasive gloom, there existed pockets of camaraderie and solidarity, forged through shared adversity and the unyielding spirit of resilience. Years passed, each one blurring into the next as Max fought against the currents of stagnation that threatened to pull him under. Despite his unwavering dedication and tireless efforts, he found himself no closer to scaling the heights of his profession, or ascending the social hierarchy of the towering edifice that loomed above him. Though his position on the 10th floor garnered him respect and admiration, he remained acutely aware of the yawning chasm that separated him from the coveted penthouses above. As a physician, Max was well respected and highly regarded amongst the denizens of the tower, his expertise and compassion earning him a reputation as a trusted healer and confidant. He was often called upon out of hours, his sense of duty compelling him to prioritize the needs of his patients above all else. Yet despite his indispensable role within the community, Max knew that he remained tethered to the lower rungs of the social ladder, his aspirations of upward mobility tantalizingly out of reach. On the 10th floor, where his practice resided alongside the humble grocery shops that catered to the needs of the lower levels, Max found himself at a crossroads. Beyond the confines of his domain lay the allure of more affluent establishments, a cinema, a swimming pool, reserved for the elite residents who dwelled 10 floors above. Yet despite his status as a physician, Max was keenly aware of the barriers that separated him from the privileged few who inhabited the upper echelons of the tower. While he was permitted entry into these exclusive spaces by virtue of his profession, Max could not shake the lingering sense of unease that accompanied each visit. The disdainful glances and whispered murmurs that greeted him served as a constant reminder of his place in the pecking order, a position of begrudging acceptance, but never true respect. To the residents of the upper floors, Max was little more than a pawn in their game, a lowly physician relegated to the margins of society, a necessary inconvenience, but ultimately expendable. Despite his best efforts to prove his worth, Max knew that in the eyes of the elite, he would always be viewed with suspicion and contempt, a charlatan masquerading as a healer, a pretender to their lofty throne. Max's resolve solidified like steel, his gaze unwavering as it fixated on the glittering apartments above. each adorned with leafy balconies that hosted exclusive cocktail parties on weekends, a world he longed to be a part of. He poured himself into his work, sacrificing precious hours of sleep and leisure in relentless pursuit of his singular goal, ascent. Yet despite his tireless efforts, the elusive dream of purchasing one of those coveted apartments remained just out of reach. Slowly but surely, the gravitational pull of his upbringing began to exert its influence, drawing him back into the familiar embrace of his nature. With access to a plethora of drugs sought after by the tower's tenants, Max found himself slipping into a new role, catering to their vices and desires. It was through this illicit trade that he began his clandestine ascent to the next level. It was Patricia, a woman of the night, or day, it mattered little to her as long as the coin flowed, who acted as the conduit to Max's introduction to a man of considerable standing many floors above. He had been careless with Patricia, and now he needed something removed before it spiraled out of control. Though it tore at Patricia's heart, the affair proceeded regardless of her feelings, for the man's public image and familial prestige hung in the balance. The scandal had to be contained at all costs. In exchange for his discretion and cooperation, Max found himself invited to the next Friday's cocktail party, minus Patricia, of course. It was here, amidst the glittering chandeliers and clinking glasses of the elite, that Max began to make his ascent to the next level. His services were soon in high demand, his discretion ensuring his popularity among the upper echelons of the tower. As time passed, Max became a sought-after figure, his days spent discreetly catering to the desires of the elite leading up to the extravagant party nights. It wasn't long before he received an offer, an apartment on the 21st floor. The middle classes, wary of being seen in the company of the impoverished on the lower floors, sought refuge in the anonymity of the higher levels. And so, Max found himself on the cusp of the next phase of his ascent, poised to leave behind the shadows of his past and embrace the glittering allure of the upper echelons. Max had ascended halfway up the towering structure, his apartment now adorned with sleek modern furnishings that spoke of his newfound status. Gone were the days of second-hand furniture and worn-out tables. In their place stood chic laminated surfaces that lent an air of cleanliness and sophistication to his abode. Yet despite the outward transformation, Max couldn't shake the feeling of weariness that clung to the walls, as if the very essence of the tower itself seeped into every corner, tainting even the most pristine of surfaces. His path, once strewn with obstacles and challenges, had become a carefully orchestrated dance of manipulation and strategy. With each floor conquered, Max maneuvered himself ever closer to his ultimate goal, to become the top man in the tower. He forged alliances with the influential elite, leveraging their power and influence to further his own ambitions. Meanwhile, he cultivated a network of loyal followers among the lower ranks, earning their trust and loyalty through acts of kindness and generosity. Yet for every step Max took towards the summit, resentment simmered below. As his influence grew, so too did the animosity of those left in his wake. Once allies and friends now looked upon him with envy and disdain, their admiration twisted into bitter resentment as they watched him ascend to heights they could only dream of. In moments of respite, Max found solace in the small nature reserve that nestled amidst the concrete jungle of the tower. A remnant of failed rewilding projects from years past. Ironically, the reserve had reclaimed its wildness back in the absence of human intervention. Here, amidst the rustling leaves and chirping birds soaring into the sky, Max found a fleeting sense of freedom, a freedom he envied yet could not grasp. But even as he dreamed of soaring alongside the birds, Max remained tethered to the tower by the chains of his ambition. His presence was felt on every floor, his influence extending like tendrils of shadow into every corner of the tower. Behind closed doors, he brokered deals and pulled strings with the finesse of a seasoned puppeteer, his ascent fueled by an insatiable thirst for power and prestige. And so, Max pressed on, driven by a relentless desire to rise ever higher, heedless of the toll it took on his soul. For in the tower, where power and ambition reigned supreme, there was no room for mercy or hesitation. Only those willing to claw their way to the top would survive, and Max was determined to be the last man standing. As Richard Vanderbilt, the towering figure at the apex of the high-rise, continued his reign in the penthouse, his grasp on power seemed unassailable. With effortless precision, he manipulated the political landscape, bending laws and regulations to his will and leaving chaos and despair in his wake. Vanderbilt's extravagant lifestyle, marked by lavish parties and displays of opulence, served as a constant reminder of his dominance within the tower. Born into a family of wealth and privilege, Vanderbilt was groomed for success from a young age. His upbringing was steeped in luxury, providing him with every advantage and opportunity to excel. From prestigious schools to influential connections, Vanderbilt had it all laid out for him. For Max, Vanderbilt stood as the ultimate obstacle, a formidable barrier blocking his path to the summit. Despite Vanderbilt's seemingly impenetrable authority, Max sensed a vulnerability, a crack in the facade signaling impending change. Then, in a sudden upheaval, Vanderbilt's government was overthrown, replaced by a new regime that descended upon the tower with the force of a tempest. The Bally Boys, clad in black, arrived swiftly, their presence announced by the thunderous roar of helicopter blades slicing through the air. Max watched in disbelief as the Bally Boys landed on the penthouse roof, executing their operation with ruthless efficiency. Within moments, Vanderbilt was apprehended and whisked away into the night sky, leaving behind an eerie silence in the penthouse. As Max grappled with the reality of Vanderbilt's sudden downfall, a mixture of relief and apprehension washed over him. The once untouchable figure had been swiftly dethroned, leaving a void in his wake. Surveying the empty penthouse, Max felt a surge of uncertainty about the future. With Vanderbilt's reign extinguished, the tower descended into chaos and uncertainty. Yet for Max, the upheaval presented an opportunity to shape the future according to his vision. However, as years passed and Max attained wealth and influence beyond his wildest dreams, he found himself increasingly isolated. Once revered as a respected doctor on the lower levels, Max's ascent had left him estranged from those he once called peers. Despite his opulent surroundings, Max felt a profound sense of loneliness, his wealth and status serving as shackles rather than keys to freedom. Reflecting on his past, Max yearned for the simplicity of days gone by, the freedom to watch birds soar in the nature reserve, to feel the wind on his face without the weight of expectation. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting a crimson glow over the city below, Max made his decision. With a heavy heart and a longing for true freedom, Max stepped onto the balcony's edge and said, "Freedom is not for the weak. Freedom is never given, it is won. Freedom is a path you choose every day." And then let himself fall, surrendering to the shadow enveloping from the high-rise. As his body vanished into the abyss, a solitary figure in the vast expanse of the cityscape, Max had found solace in the belief that true liberation lay beyond the confines of wealth and power. The end. Thank you for listening.